Hello, and welcome back to Lovely. Okay, first of all, I missed everyone. I feel like we didn't have an episode last week. It was July 4th. Happy July 4th. Happy belated July 4th. Welcome back. Happy to have you here. And what's going on with my life? Honestly, I had one of the best weekends of the summer so far. It was like one of those weekends where like you're living it, you're hanging out with great people, great music, amazing weather, and my social battery is like fully recharged and I'm loving it. And not only am I like still on a high from the weekend, I'm also very, very excited for today's episode. I have been looking forward to this conversation because I am so curious about the way my guest thinks, the work she does, everything about it. So today I have Jessica Lanyadoo, who is a humanistic astrologer, a psychic medium, an animal communicator, an author, and the host of her podcast called Ghost of a Podcast. We're going to talk all things astrology, dating, relationships, compatibility, and maybe more things that just we don't even know what we're missing out on. Or if we are blaming Mercury retrograde as everything that's going wrong in our life. Jessica, welcome to Lovely. How are you today?
I'm so happy to be here. I'm really just excited to get to talk to you. Also, Mercury retrograde is challenging. Not for everyone, not always, but it is challenging. So you're not making it up.
Truly, what is Mercury retrograde? Like in a sentence, if you can tell me, I would love that.
So when Mercury goes retrograde, it appears to be moving backwards through the zodiac and the impact on that, because Mercury is the planet of communications. So it basically means communications kind of go backwards. In other words, miscommunications occur. You thought you sent the text, you didn't send the text. Technological problems occur, and Apple tries to push an update. I don't know why Apple pushes an update every Mercury retrograde, but it kind of does. So yeah, Mercury retrograde gives you wonky communication. And in today's world, that's kind of a bigger deal than it used to be because we're so chronically online, which is talking, listening, typing, all that kind of stuff.
You know, everyone listening, you're not just making it up in your head. Speaking of communications going backwards, I want to go backwards with you. So I want to start from the beginning. I think little Jessica, I don't know, maybe you were telling everyone that you have these abilities, that you can feel things, you can know things, or maybe you just didn't know what was happening. So I would love to know, first your connection to immigrant identity, and when did you realize you were different?
First of all, nobody's asked me that question in that way before, which I appreciate. For me, my immigrant identity and knowing I was different, kind of like in a psychic-y woo astrology way, are intertwined because different is different, right? I also have something called a ptosis of the eye, which is like my eyes are asymmetrical, very dramatically, medically asymmetrical. And also I'm gay. So there's all these ways that I was different. And I kind of, in how I held them, they were kind of all held in one big bucket of oh, well, I guess I'm different. As a small kid, pre-high school child, it was really hard. And I really struggled with being different. Even just having curly hair, my mom used to cut hair and I would go to her for haircuts and I would show her all these pictures of women with beautiful straight or straight wavy hair. And I'd be like, give me that haircut. And she'd be like, that is literally impossible. I was so offended. I was like, why can't you just fix my hair? And then somewhere in my high school years, I was like, okay, this is who I am. I just have to lean into who I am. And from there, I kind of embraced all parts of myself that didn't fit in the world that I was living in. In terms of my immigrant identity, my families were all immigrants from different parts of the world. And I was born in the US, but raised in Canada myself. My father is from Baghdad and then moved to Israel and then to Canada and then the US. And my mother is the firstborn to Holocaust survivors. My grandparents were a big part of my upbringing. My mother's parents were a big part of my upbringing. So I didn't have an upbringing of like, oh, we're American or oh, we're Canadian at all. Very much an immigrant upbringing in that way.
That acceptance of I am different, it must feel so liberating because how do you feel about your curly hair now? Like I know there were things when I was growing up that I was like I wish I could look like that person or I wish I could have that trait. But now I love those things about me because that's what they make you, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I will not straighten my hair anymore.
So I kind of want to talk about what is it exactly that you do? Because you mentioned you're a humanistic astrologer. How is that different? What does it mean to do that? Is it also a psychic or a medium, or is it psychic medium? And also the animal communicator part, like I'm so curious.
Okay, so psychic doesn't inherently mean medium. So psychics basically know things. It's kind of like the way I describe my psychic ability is I have really good internet access. Now, am I reading all the websites on the whole internet at once? No, I have to open a website. I have to like consume a part of the website. You know, it's like the brain can only hold so much. But psychic ability is like really good internet access. You can just pluck things from the ether. Medium is talking to dead people specifically. So many psychics are not mediums. Not all mediums are psychics. So when you hear somebody say psychic medium, if they're using the term correctly, they're saying that they both have psychic ability and they can talk to dead people. And I only realized I was a psychic medium in my early 30s. I didn't believe in psychics, actually, but I came to astrology in my late teens. So I was already a professional astrologer for a decade by the time I realized I was a medium and that I was psychic.
And what happened that made you believe that? Like, how did you find out?
That's a great question. So I was, like I said, I was a professional astrologer, and I'll get to the humanistic astrology thing later. As a professional astrologer, I had just gone full time as an astrologer in my late 20s, and clients kept on asking me to be psychic. They'd be like, tell me about my boyfriend, tell me about my dead mother, tell me. And I would be like, listen, I don't know how to do that. But I had bad boundaries because I was young. And this is like still a very kind of like early internet time because I'm in my early 50s now. And this was a long time ago now. But I had bad boundaries. So I said to people, I'll try, but that's not what I can do. I'm a really good astrologer, but I'm not a psychic. And so I would try and I would be accurate. And then I would try it again. And I would be like, well, you know how the butter melts before the toast is warm? I'm just hitting good luck. You know, I just tell myself that for like a long time. And then I had a number of experiences, both as an animal communicator and a medium, that were kind of undeniable. I had one story that comes to mind is I had a client come in. I had met with her before, I think maybe on the phone, but she had a parent who has passed away, but my client was adopted. And so she only found her birth parent after she had passed away. And so she had come to San Francisco, where I was working at the time, to meet with her birth mother's family. And she met with me first. And so the dead woman came through and not only like talked to my client, but also was like pointed out what the house was going to look like, the thing about the other family members, what to look out for, specifically pointed my client to a bunch of roses. And it was just so specific. It was a specific kind of experience because my client had never met anyone in this family, right? Like they were complete strangers to her. And she came back and she was like, holy crap, like it was all accurate. And it had been actually quite helpful for her to navigate the personal dynamics with her birth family. And that was one of the experiences I had where I was like, well, that's really hard to ignore. Like, how did I know that?
I have a question. So this person came to you and she was in town because she was about to meet her birth mother. So she knew who the birth mother was, but obviously the birth mother had passed away.
Her birth mother's family.
Okay.
Yeah, her birth mother's family. So her birth mother was dead. So she talked to her birth mother through me, but the birth mother was passed away.
But did she know that was going to happen? Like, did she come to you to have conversation with the birth mother, or you said,
Yes.
Okay. And what were some of the things you said? It was specific.
So some of those very specific things were details about the personality of the aunt, the personality of the husband of the aunt, and kind of like warned her about some like, family dynamics, like, how families are, family dynamics. She also told me to tell my client about these roses that she had planted around the home she lived in and how important they were to her. And so when my client got to the house, there were red roses. They were just so specific. And, because I didn't believe in psychics, it's not that I didn't think I was psychic. I didn't. But I didn't believe in psychics at all. So I was just like, well, maybe on some level, I'm like pulling this information from something. But my client had no information. So I couldn't have pulled any information from her, which kind of was like, okay, I need to start treating this as like something that's actually happening instead of trying to explain it away. Does that make sense?
It definitely does make sense. I guess I have been raised in a very, my grandparents were very religious. I'm Muslim. I was born into a Pakistani household and, I believe in Islam. So I was raised to know that there is one God and God knows all your plans, right? So there's a little bit of like, I'm skeptical. You understand it, right? Like there's people that wholeheartedly believe in this. And I do think that there's some truth to having a strong intuition. But like literally finding out details, some people think it could be a scam. So like, how do you deal with that skepticism and what's a misconception people have?
Yeah. So there's a number of things I say. The first thing I say is not everything is for everyone. I'm never going to try to convince anyone to believe in a psychic. Don't believe in a psychic. I don't believe in ibuprofen. I don't believe in the internet. But you know what? Both of them work for me most of the time. If it works, if it's evidence-based, go with it. If it doesn't work and there's no evidence, why would you use it? You know what I mean? Like back to curly hair. How many curly hair products do I have? 700 million. Curly hair girls? No. And do I use them all? No, because they don't all work or they don't all work in the same weather. And that doesn't mean I don't believe in curly hair products or in my hair or in weather, right? So I think the most consistent thing I say to people is if you have religious faith that tells you astrology is not for me, psychics are not for me, then it's not for you. But not everything has to be for everyone. I really firmly feel that way. And then the other part of what I would say is I have talked to so many dead people and I have accessed so much information that there is no way I could have known if psychic ability wasn't real. And I don't believe that psychic ability is a power. Personally, I believe that some people are really just naturally good singers. Some people can dance, and some people have greater openness to how we are all interconnected. I just think it's one of those things that some people have natural ability towards, and some people work hard to develop. I personally have really strong spiritual values that don't jive well with theories of afterlife, heaven and hell. So many of us, we abandon common sense when it comes to any spiritual matters. And I am not about that. I really think that any spirituality that requires me to abandon common sense, why would I want that for myself?
No, it does. I think it puts things into perspective, right? Like I like the concept of not everything is for you. So if the shoe fits, keep coming back. If it doesn't, you hear it and then, you go on to something else. So I guess where my mind is going is, like every culture seems to have some version of astrology, religion, prophecy. Like I think humans are really like curious and desperate to know what's coming next. And I think that happens in dating, relationships. Not only do they want to know about themselves, but they're like, well, who am I going to end up with? When am I going to get there? So I want to shift gears to talk about all things dating, love. But before I go there, Jessica, are you dating? Are you in a relationship? What's your status, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure, not at all. I am in a relationship and I've been with my partner for 14 years. Wow, 14 and a half now.
Beautiful. How did you guys meet? And did you know you were about to meet someone very special?
Yeah. Okay. So we met at a party. It was a solstice party. And did I know? Kind of. The true story is that I was really hoping to meet somebody. I was single. I was ready to mingle. And I got dressed to go to this party. And I heard my guides say, don't wear pants, wear a skirt. And I was like, okay. And so I changed. and then I met this person. And the second I saw him, I was like, okay, that one right there. That's what I'm going to do. And yeah, we went on our first date like 3 days later and have been very happy for 14 and a half years.
Love the story about your partner. How does astrology tie into that? Do you think we are, sometimes using astrology to avoid people to date? Like, do you think they're using it for the wrong reasons? Like, uh, I want to know more about that.
Okay, I'm so happy you're asking me this question. I can't even tell you. I do not look at the astrology of people I have a crush on, ever. I am not for that. I know that's one of the most common things people do. I do not look at the astrology of my crushes. I will look at the birth chart of somebody I'm in a serious relationship with their permission only. I just feel like in this world of cyber stalking and like trying to get ahead of things, we look at astrology and we use it and we like get superstitious about it. We abandon our common sense. And like the amount of times where I'm like, I've heard people say like, yeah, I would never date a Gemini, or, oh my God, Libra men are the worst, or Libra women are this. It's just like, sure, there's truth to it, but I can tell you this as an astrologer. Your experience of, let's say, Scorpio men says more about you and how you experience Scorpio men than it does about all the Scorpio men of the universe, obviously, right? This is the thing about astrology is that it's actually quite complex. And when we just look at sun signs, which is like if you say like, oh, I'm an Aquarius, you're saying the sun was in Aquarius when I was born. When we look at sun signs, it's very reductive. It's fun, but it's not super deep. And so when people use it to make life decisions or to get to know someone, I do think it's a fancy way of blocking intimacy and not being present. And I don't think that leads to healthy, happy relationships, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And you're probably going to hate me for saying this, but I have beef with Aquarius men. I don't like Aquarius men. but that is my own experience.
I hear this kind of thing all the time.
Yeah, like I have never met a good Aquarius guy, but I know they exist. The point of, sometimes people are using horoscope compatibility and traits and personalities, just like kind of the way they're using dating apps. Like it's another way to eliminate people instead of actually getting to know someone, right? So you mentioned that you don't try to look at someone else's sign, but you do look at birth charts. How is that different? And what is the process? And what does a birth chart tell you?
The process is just dramatically different. I can look at your birth chart and tell if you prefer to use pencils or pens, sleeping patterns, health issues. I can tell your relationship to honesty and time, like if you run on time or if you tend to be late, your tendency towards infidelity or monogamy, or how long you go in bed. Like you can see everything in the birth chart, and you cannot see that from a sign, right? And so when somebody says to me something like, I don't fuck with Aquarius men, right? What I know is that there's something in your personal birth chart that would indicate that you'd be attracted enough to Aquarius men to have bad experiences with them, and something in your birth chart that speaks to those bad experiences. But like your sun sign wouldn't tell me any of that. It would have to be the complexity of your birth chart. It does take a lot of skill, like you have to train and study to be able to read a chart. But when it comes to dating, and this is unpopular with the astrology girlies, but I'm going to say it anyways. When it comes to dating, the best possible thing you can do is get to know someone without abandoning yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you have a million ideas about who they are based on their astrology, then you're not really present. And if you are looking for like a quote unquote perfect match, then you're not, I don't know, if you're on a date with somebody and they say something you don't like, push back. Get to know them, let them know you. And if it doesn't work, great, move on. But the only way to be in a healthy, happy relationship is to be yourself and to get to know who they truly are. And astrology can facilitate that, but it's better to just do it in the present moment, honestly.
Okay, so just on the topic of dating and relationships, how many like love readings do you do, or what kind of things people are curious about or are they bringing to you?
So I became a professional consulting astrologer in 1995, 94. I have done thousands and thousands of readings. And amongst them, of course, a huge percentage of them were about love. I don't organize my readings like as in love readings or work readings. I just read for a person. And if love issues are up, they're up. The truth of the matter is, I will often encourage a person to focus back on themselves. It doesn't matter if the other person is too in their head or they're not giving you the attention that you want or you can't meet somebody. Whatever kind of relationship issue exists, ultimately, it does rest on you to make choices around how you're going to engage with it. And I think a lot of times people turn to astrology to like look outside of themselves. And I'm always pulling people back to center to focus on what choices are you making? Are you staying with somebody who you are really clear you're not compatible with on this key issue? And so when I'm doing love or relationship readings, I'm often bringing the client back to themselves, being like, okay, well, how are you navigating your needs? What are you choosing? Why are you choosing this? Because we don't have control over what other people do. We don't have control over when or where we'll meet someone. That's fantasy. We have control about what we do, when we do it, and why we do it. And so the more we focus on our own homework, the healthier our lives get.
I am curious if you can tell me about a client or a reading that you'll never forget.
Two come to mind. One is a mediumship example, and one is an animal communication example. So the mediumship example, I had a client who came to me. She was an older person. Her parent had passed away. And so she came to me every so often to check in with her mother, who was in spirit. She cared for her mother for many, many years as she was ill. They lived together. They had a very close relationship. One time where my client came in, the dead mother said, when was the last time you talked to Uncle Jim? It was not Uncle Jim, but whatever. We're using fake names. And my client was like, I don't know. It's been a really long time. And the dead mother said, you need to go to Uncle Jim's house. Don't call him. Just go to the house. If he doesn't answer the door, you have to get into his apartment no matter what. And my client was like, okay. And so apparently she did it. The next day she went to her uncle's. He wasn't like a blood uncle. He was like a friend of the family kind of guy. She went to his house and she knocked on his door. And sure enough, he did not answer. And so she got the super to the building to open the door because he was elderly and living alone. And when she got into his apartment, it was empty and his bed was covered in blood. It was covered in blood. And so she freaked out, as you'd imagine, and she called every hospital in town. And finally, she found him, and he had like something in his bladder, something like that had like ruptured, which is why there was blood all over the bed. And he was in the hospital and ran the risk of being he was alive, but like being a John Doe because he wasn't able to talk. So she was able to find him and advocate for him because of what this dead woman told me to tell her. And that has always stayed with me because it was so intense.
Sorry, I asked for it. But it was really heavy. So, you know where my mind goes? Like I'm curious, like I have my own versions of these thoughts. Like, oh, you have a dream about someone and it's not a good dream. And you're like, hey, had a bad dream about you. Like, want to make sure you're good. Or you sometimes have this like feeling in your gut that like something is not right, or like you shouldn't leave the house today, or things like that. Like, does it have any connection, meaning? What do you think?
Yeah. So I think it depends, right? For some people, like, again, this is where I like pull in common sense, right? Some people know shit, right? And that doesn't mean every instinct and every dream is psychic, but some people know things. Some people have anxiety disorders or magical thinking, and they can get really superstitious and really anxious about this kind of stuff. Some people are so intellectual and in their heads that even if they do have intuition, they explain it away. There's so many ways of being a person. But what I will say in answer to your question is I do not believe that the only way to access divinity and the interconnection of people and land is through religion or, a male patriarchal like figure. I don't believe that at all. Of course I don't, because I'm a psychic, right? And I'm a medium. So of course I don't. And so I think that for me is kind of like if we accept that we are all interconnected, which not everyone does, but if we accept that we are all interconnected, then psychic is not so shocking. Because of course you would be connected to the people you care about. And if you are sensitive, you might pick up on a dream, or you might just like have a vibe and be like, I got to reach out to this friend. You might walk down the street and be like, you know what? I always take this route, but I'm going to turn a different corner. Just something tells me. And is that psychic? Doesn't matter. I don't know. It's just sometimes you need to listen to something other than your intellect, and we do it all the time. I don't think overthinking it helps, basically. And that said, yeah, if you're accurate, you're accurate.
Yeah, I think people that actually can have at least a balance of both, like you said, common sense. Honestly, common sense these days is not so common.
Not
So
so
you can have
common.
common sense. You are intellectual and you are in tuned with yourself, and you are a little like you are spiritual, and you can like feel those things, and then you can act on it and combine all those things. I think will lead to somewhat of a decent life. But okay, I now want to hear about the animal communicator story. I'm very curious about that.
Okay. So this is like, you asked the question, and these are the two stories that came to my mind. I was walking down the street, and, I have animal communication podcast episodes on my feed if people are like really interested in this. I was walking down the street one day, and there was this guy that I knew from like around, and I love vintage clothes. Like I love vintage clothes and furnishings and stuff like that. So he sold on the street like a bunch of vintage stuff, and I got lots of stuff from him over the years. I didn't know his name, but like I knew him. You know what I mean? He had this adorable dog. Oh, this dog was so cute. Anyways, I saw the man and his dog, and the dog ran at me, and he started talking to me. One of the clearest experiences of animal communication I've ever had. And he was like, you have got to talk to my person. He's going to get rid of me. Now, when I tell you, this man was like a staple in the city with his dog. Like you would never see this man without the dog.
Did the dog speak English? Sorry, how did you understand him?
No, girl. Okay, he just ran up at me. The way that animal communication works, I hate the word telepathy, but it's basically, he communicated with me. I knew. He showed me pictures, and he was so articulate. This dog was really just like a very articulate dog, but he did not go bark, 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 Jessica, bark, 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 Jessica. Like it wasn't like that. He showed me, and I was really surprised. Like I was very surprised because I've had dogs be like, this is my dog bed, or like, don't talk to my person. Like I've had dogs talk to me on the street in like very what you would expect from a dog ways. But this was like, he was like, I know you can hear me, bitch, help. Like that is basically what he said. And I was just like, okay. And so I walked up to the man very cautiously because I don't walk up to strangers and tell them psychic things. I think that's invasive. I don't like that. It's good TV, but it's not good reality. You know what I mean? So this is probably the only time I've ever done this. But I was like, we were chatting. I was like, hey, how are you? And the dog was like at my heels, looking up at me, being like, please help me. And so finally I was like, listen, I know this is going to sound nuts, but I am an animal communicator. And have you been thinking about getting rid of your dog? And he looked like I kicked him in the stomach. The man looked shook. And he was like, how did you know that? And I was like, well, your dog told me that he's really concerned and that you're thinking of getting rid of him. But I thought that was really weird because you seem so close with your dog. And he was like, almost started crying. And he was like, basically, he goes everywhere with this dog. And the dog had attacked another dog. And after that attack, the dog had been aggressive towards a couple other dogs. The man was like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's like my life means I'm around people and dogs all the time. And my dog is being violent and I don't know how to like train him out of this. I don't know what's happening. And so the dog told me what was happening. And the dog said, he's weak. He doesn't stand like a strong person. He stands like somebody who's going to get attacked, because dogs have like alpha beta way of thinking, right? There's like the dog that has aggressive body language and then the dog that gets aggressed upon. So the way the dog was thinking about it was, I am protecting you from other people attacking you because you're weak. And I'll always remember this dog was like, he's weak. I have to protect him. He's mine to protect. And so I told the man this. I told him how exactly what the dog said, because I've learned that as a psychic, if I reword things, it often doesn't vibe with the person. Because I would think telling a man that I only know from the streets, hey man, you're weak, doesn't usually go over well. Like the dog was specifically like, your stance is weak. The man was distraught. And so what the dog said was, when we go these places, you stand with your ankles close together. And when you do that, you signal to everyone else that you are ready to be attacked. You need to stand with your legs wide apart, and you need to stand with more strength in your hips. This is what the dog said, because he's a dog. And that's how he perceives shows of strength. It's like power through the body, right? And he was like, I cannot let you be attacked. So I'm attacking other people, letting them know that they can't attack you. And I told this to the man, and the man was like, I know exactly what he's talking about. I talked to the man on behalf of the dog and was like, this is what your dog needs you to do to be safe. And I talked to the dog on behalf of the man to say, if you attack another dog, he's not confident he can keep you. So even if your human gets attacked, it's like not your job. He doesn't want you to protect him in that way. And so I communicated on behalf of both of them, like kind of like a couples therapist or a translator.
Wow. That is insane.
It is wild. It was crazy because, again, usually it's like a client comes to me and then I communicate with the animal on behalf of the human. But this was an animal coming to me and being like, bitch, I know you hear me. Talk to him.
Who do you like talking to more, animals or humans?
That's a very complex question. Honestly, animals are more honest.
I agree.
They're just more honest. So sometimes when I have clients come to me and they're not able to be really forthcoming, I talk to the animals in their house if they have pets, and the animals narc on them. Because they're listening to you. You're talking to them. They understand you. We act like our animal friends are dumb and we're so smart. They know the name we use for them. We don't know the name they use for us. No human thinks that's relevant data, right? So our animals are constantly. Do you have a pet?
No, but I'm gonna get a cat soon in November.
Oh, good for you! I love cats.
Yes, me too.
So we're constantly showing our animal friends a myriad of things. When we're going to take them to the vet, when we're going to leave town, whether we're going to go get up off the couch and get them food. We are showing them things through pictures, essentially. And I should add that I saw those two together for years after that. And as far as I know, the dog never attacked anyone again.
Unbelievable. Okay, so obviously I have to ask the opposite of this. And, it seems like you have a lot of people that are coming to you in some of their most vulnerable moments, just like you are, kind of having this feeling of tell them what's going on in their most vulnerable moments of their lives. And there is responsibility of your work, right? Have you ever gotten something wrong, which I'm sure you have? And like how do you deal with that? What does that teach you?
Of course. hmm So there's a number of things, and this is you're asking me great questions. Thank you. The first thing is that sometimes I get it wrong. Sometimes I get it early. Sometimes my client doesn't want to hear it. And those three things are really hard to tell apart in the moment. Okay? So what I do as a practice is a couple of things. The first thing is when I'm in consultation, so I'm, meeting with a client one-on-one, I advise them that their only job is critical thought, that I can be right about 8 things and wrong about 2, right? Just because I get some things right does not mean I get everything right. And that you as an individual are responsible for how you use the information. If I say something that feels wrong, it's wrong. So I tell this to clients because, again, you hear the story that I, talked to a dead lady who told me about a man who bled on his mattress, and you're like, oh my God, you know everything. No, I knew that thing. Just because a person can sing beautifully doesn't mean every time they sing, it's beautiful. Again, common sense, right? And so there's that. Now, when it comes to getting things wrong or getting things right, I hold it equally because it's not about me. It's not about me. I'm doing my best to interpret the signs or communicate whatever it is I'm being shown, whether it's through an animal or a dead person or a birth chart. And what the person does with that information, I can't be identified with it. I can't be thinking about it too much because that makes it about me. And the work is not about me. It's about the person I'm meeting with. And so in terms of getting things wrong, an example that's coming to mind is I had a client come in many years back and she was just so into this man she was dating. She was so into this man. And we did an hour-long reading about the relationship. She just asked about their compatibility. And I was like, okay, I'll do this reading with you about compatibility. I'm answering your questions about compatibility. A couple days later, he broke up with her out of the blue. And it was something that I've never been able to really grasp is cis heterosexual men's intimacy issues. They're wild. And so sometimes I have seen my clients in really healthy relationships with people that they're very compatible with, and then that person pulls the plug spontaneously, no good reason. And their reason is they're not in it for a really healthy, challenging relationship. They want something lighter. They don't want to be challenged. That always shocks me. So in that situation, I really felt like I got it wrong. I felt like I should have, after the fact, I felt like I should have steered her away from asking these questions because he broke up with her. So it was this hour we spent where it didn't go anywhere. I would never claim to be perfect or for the sessions to be perfect. And that experience and many others like it have taught me to push back on my clients' questions. So when you were like, oh, will you guess my sign? Or, can you tell me these things? When I was younger, I would have answered a question that I don't think is a good question. And I've learned, don't answer every question because some questions frame things in a way that changes the content.
I want to ask you a question about something you said, I think, which was very interesting. This reading that you did for a client, it was about compatibility, and then she got broken up with. I'm sure it's a pattern that you've seen, which is why you're concluding that a lot of cis men they have intimacy issues. And I guess like I think a lot of people are navigating this. I think men themselves are navigating this and they're struggling and they're frustrated too. How do you figure that out? Because people can lie. How do you come out on like the other side of it and maybe not do it again?
So the first thing is, you don't need to be a psychic to know cis straight men have intimacy issues. I mean, we all have intimacy issues, but they have the corner on it. And I think that, forgive me, because I'm going to move away from woo and into social and political things for just a moment to say, I was born in 1975. Okay. In 1974, women got the right in the United States to have their own checking account and to buy property without their husbands or fathers signing the paperwork. We forget how recent it is that women have financial autonomy, the right to divorce. We don't make much money on the dollar. Like, we are living in a very unjust society. And so understanding that, I feel like, is really important because, listen, in astrology, you can't look at someone's birth chart and know if it's a male or a female, right? Because we all are very much made up of the same astrological components. That said, we cannot disregard sociology. We cannot disregard cultural factors, right? We cannot disregard class factors. We cannot disregard, I'm assuming you're in your 20s or your 30s, whereas I'm in my 50s. We have different factors. We're raised in different cultures. And these things meaningfully impact what we expect, how we show up, what we ask for, and who we engage with. And when it comes to men, from a sociological perspective, they have very recently lost a whole lot of power over women. And even if you meet a wonderful guy who's got great values and who cares about women and doesn't see them as less than him, that doesn't mean that there isn't hundreds and hundreds of years of ancestral baggage of, I shouldn't have to explain myself. You should just take care of me. It just is an assumption in their head. Just like women, we apologize when we don't have to, and we show up and we do whatever work we can when, all this stuff that we just, it's ancestral, it's inherited. And we don't need to be in woo, although we easily can be. We can talk about epigenetics and all kinds of other science-based ways of understanding how humans function. That said, you can't change men. You can't change history. All you can do is ask questions of your partner. You are on dates with a man and you are not sure he is acting in ways that are authentic. Ask him not to explain himself, but to show himself to you. That's the move. Ask people to show themselves to you. I am a big believer in clocking how a person that is new in my life treats somebody who's working as waitstaff. I want to know. Somebody who's serving you, how do you treat them? If I see the smallest hint of disrespect, I know that will come at me sooner or later. I don't care if you're a friend, if you're a date, I don't care what your gender is. That's important. When you hear how people talk about people they disagree with, what level of disrespect do they show? Like, for instance, when we talk about religion versus astrology, there's no reason to believe anything. You believe what you believe, that's fine. But when you shit on someone else's beliefs, someone else's lifestyle, that says more about you than the beliefs or the lifestyle. And I think that we in general, but especially women, we do this thing where we're like, oh, yeah, my new friend, she's really mean about her other friends, but she would never be that way towards me. We're cool. Anyone who's mean is mean. Anyone who's judgmental is judgmental. Anyone who's disrespectful is disrespectful. It's just a question of when it comes around to you. And I think that we need to listen to what people tell us about themselves. We need to listen to how we feel in someone's presence. If you feel awkward all the time around someone, maybe it's because you like them so much and you're nervous, or maybe it's because they don't make you feel safe. Your job is to figure that out.
Oh my God, I'm so glad we're having this conversation. And it's taken me years and years and years to get to this point where I'm nodding my head and I'm like, you are correct. You are never the exception. A lot of us have so many misconceptions that just because it's not happening to me, it's never going to happen down the line. No, I have been with people that have been very nice to me in the beginning, but were mean to their parents. And what did that do? That came back eventually to me. I have had friends who have gossiped about other people. And then what did they do with me? They gossiped about me. And there's a saying that what Sally says about Susie says more about Sally than it does about Susie. And I feel like it's very telling. Selfishly, I want to spend a few minutes talking about myself. I want to learn something about me. Can you ask me any questions or tell me something that
Hold on, girl. What year were you born?
1992.
1992. Hold on. I'm pulling up a book. Okay, great. What's your month and day?
October 9th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can tell you hella shit. Okay, so first of all, I just opened this book called The Ephemeris. This is what I'm reading. Numbers. And this is what a lot of people don't understand about astrology is it's math. Right. This is why when I say it's complicated, girl, it's complicated, okay? So astrology is math. And that's something that most people don't expect to hear. You were born on October 9th, which was a Friday. And there's a lot of things. Oh, you're so relationship oriented. You're a Libra sun and a Pisces moon. And you hate coming across as mean or selfish. You really like to like people. It really makes you happy to like a person. And you are, oh my goodness. Hold on, girl.
No.
Hold on, girl. You've had a really intense couple of years and it's challenged you. I would imagine you've had conflicts with people based on beliefs or very real relationship problems. And it's challenged you to really figure out what you believe, what needs to be said, and how much to listen to people and how to who you're listening to. Does that track?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm not just saying that, genuinely, that's true.
Oh, it's very deep. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event that you've been going through. This shit is just closing up shortly. Things will get easier, but not before they get harder. I'm sorry, I don't make the astrology. I just report on it. Because what's coming up for you, is it this month? You're starting to feel it now, but it really kind of kicks in by the end of July 2026, is Saturn square your sun. And this transit is kind of it challenges your sense of self. Are you dating anyone right now?
I just started talking to someone and it's going first I was very hesitant about it. I was on and off, on and off, on and off. Recently, it's going really well and I'm giving it a chance.
So here's the thing. And you date guys, right?
Yes.
This guy, likely, and is he older than you?
No, he's 2 years younger.
Okay, so he's your age. This guy is likely to be somebody that you would either date because you're going to be serious about him or not date at all. He's it or not it, basically. That's where you're at, and that's the energy between the two of you. What you want to be on the lookout for is patterns, your patterns. This is not about men. This is about you, right? So it's about clocking your patterns and making sure that you're not playing the role that you have played in the past, that looking back, you're why'd I fucking do that shit? Okay, that's the lesson here. When we date somebody during a Saturn transit, either it's deeply karmic, which is to say it teaches you lessons about yourself that you really need to learn in order to become the adult you need to be, or the exact same thing. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is either he's your husband or he's your fucking lesson, okay? If he is your lesson, learn it. Because if I may, I would say that you're not a wallflower. When people piss you off, it's hard for you to hold it back. And also, you hate being mean. It really fucks you up. And so it puts you in this really complicated position because you're not a pushover. And also this feeling inside of you that being devotional is the way to show someone you love them. When in fact, when you're devotional to someone who has not earned your trust and respect, it just means emptying yourself out for them. Does this track?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, girl, it does. I mean, I know. So all of this to say, hold please. 16, 21. Do you want babies?
I did for the longest time. Like, I couldn't see a life without kids, but I would be okay with no kids now. But I would also be really willing with the right person.
So I'm not looking at your whole chart. This is just where the planets were when you were born. So I'm missing I would say like 40% of the information. That said, that is a very honest answer. Good for you. That is a very honest answer, because the truth of the matter is there's a lot of reasons why you absolutely do not want to get pregnant, and a lot of reasons why you do not want to have a child. And you have reasons why you do as well. But the world is going to validate the reasons to have a child. So I'm not going to do that for you. I'm going to validate that you don't want a child. You don't want to get pregnant. You don't want to push a baby out. You have your own hormonal.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. I see it.
I physically don't want to have a child. I can adopt, but I don't want to have a child myself.
I support that strongly. Your hormones are fucking intense. You have very intense stuff around your cycle. When I look, and I'm not looking at your whole chart, so that's a caveat, but when I look at this, I see that you were never like never a little girl who's like, I want to be pregnant. You might have been a little girl who's like, I want to be a mom, but not, I want to be pregnant. And I think that's really important information, right? And I think we are discouraged from trusting that in ourselves and validating that in ourselves. Because who amongst us has not heard, oh, when you're older, you're going to grow out of it. When you're older, you're going to want a kid. Oh, you'll grow out of it. When you're older, you're going to want to get married or whatever. And I just feel like, why? Nobody says that to men. We don't need to want everything. Not everything is for us. And another thing I'll say is having the willingness and the capacity to co-parent with somebody who already has a kid, to have a kid in an alternative way is great. And also not having a kid is great. You know what I mean? I know people will tell you that it's not, but I don't have a kid and I couldn't be happier. The other thing I'm going to tell you looking at your shit, a lot of things are really kind of like coming together for you right now. And then a lot of things are being challenged. And there is this part of you that likes to kind of take big swings, and it's like all or nothing. This is terrible. This is wonderful. But what you're being challenged around right now is to figure out, okay, is this sustainable? And can I be myself in it? Like, can I be true to myself in it? You are in this place where you are really needing to ask questions of yourself that you've asked before, but never as an adult. So from an astrological perspective, my astrological perspective, you become adult during the Saturn return, which is around 29 years old. So you are a baby adult. And this period of development that you're in is really like you have come into your own skin as an adult. And it's an adjustment because most of your life, you haven't been an adult. You've been like a young person, right? So you are in this place where you're trusting yourself more and questioning it all the time. Because that's the process of growing into yourself. It's like, when like you get a cut and then it scabs and then when it starts healing, it itches. You're at the itchy phase. Don't scratch. You know what I mean? And in terms of men, you need a bestie. You need a man who wants to play the way you like to play. You need a man who is interested in you being a fucking full autonomous adult outside of him. You need a man who's actually interested. Like, I know every male comedian's like, oh my God, she thinks I'm interested. Fuck that. You need a man who's actually interested in you, who's interested in what you did today and who you talked to. You want a man who knows how to gab, who knows how to talk. Do you know what I'm saying? Because some men just like, I don't know, they're weird about talking. And we could talk about that. That is its own feminist issue. But you need a man who can talk to you and who likes to have fun with you. And if I may say, you need a man you can fight with because you run irritable. Society tells us that with the perfect guy, you won't fight with them. Fuck that shit. Of course you will. Everybody's annoying. Life is hard. So we need somebody that we fight fair with, that we fight compatibly with, right? Like some people need space during a fight. Other people, if you walk away, that means you're abandoning me, you're breaking my heart. How dare you, right? Like we need compatible fighting, not no fighting. Because I've experienced through my work that couples that don't fight usually aren't very honest with each other. So we got to fight. We got to fight it out. And The only thing that does you good is staying present and not like trying to make it work with him. Make him work with you. Don't worry about whether or not he likes you. Whether or not you like him is the only thing you need to steward. You know what I'm saying? So, was this your first astrology reading?
I'm gobsmacked. Like, this is so insane. This is so insane. Like, I wish I could like say so much more, but like everything that you've like literally just said is the mental gymnastics that I have been going in my brain for like the last 2 weeks. Cause I was like, either like I'm ending it or like I found my husband. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like those conflicting feelings. And I think everyone that I have been with in my past relationships, I've been learning the lessons. I've been going through shit. I've been learning the lessons. And now why I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go through with it is because the hard part is applying it. And that's the part where I'm like, no, this is good for you. Don't sabotage it. All these qualities that you just listed, like you need someone to do this. It's literally there. It's literally there.
So you won't have the answer for several months. Let me just tell you that. Several months you're going through these transits. So this is a testing ground, I'm going to say, for 4 more months. You can't be certain that it's a yes before that.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with you. I'm obsessed with this reading. I am just thank you. Like I don't know what else to say. Like thank you so much for taking the time. You didn't have to do this reading for me. I know you like this is your actual business. People come to you and you do that, but I really really do appreciate not only what you like kind of revealed about myself, but all the knowledge and wisdom and stories and your own experiences that you've shared. I'm going to be like thinking about this for so long. My final question to you is like, you understand everyone? Who understands you? Like,
that's a sweet question. I go out of my way to make friends with people and certainly date people who are not into astrology, who are not into psychic stuff. And I go out of my way to do this because when you slowly get to know somebody, then you build relationships where you get to know them and they get to know you. Now, do I have cheats all along the way because I can psychic shit? Yes. But I do my best not to. And when I do psychic things, I tell people usually. So I just like don't have some unfair information. I let people say that's not true or whatever. But I do have people that I can go to for readings. I do have loved ones that know me and care for me. And, in the context that this is a dating show, I'm really lucky to be in a very happy relationship with my partner. And we are forever fianced. We are not married. I do not want to be married, but it's forever, not for a short time. He co-produces my podcast. He edits my podcast. It's a really lovely life because we're constantly inventing it with each other. And I feel really lucky for that. And also we fight. He bugs the shit out of me. I don't want to be romantic about it. Like a healthy, wonderful relationship is full of problems. It's just healthy problems. Let me say this as my closing thing. I believe, and I've learned this through my work, that there's 2 kinds of problems. There's the kinds of problems that help you heal. They help you confront the things that you need to confront in order to become more whole. And then there's the kinds of problems that break you, that tear you down, that have you reliving the same old bullshit that you technically know better, but here you go again. And so pursuing a relationship without problems is a fool's errand. It is a fantasy. Pursuing a relationship with healthy problems, that leads to a healthy life. That leads to happiness. That's a person you can grow old with and look all fucked up with and get sick with and get well with and truly live a life with. And that's what we want. We don't just want an Instagram of a relationship. We want a real relationship. And so making sure the problems you have with that person are healthy problems, that's in your stewardship. And if I'm giving a reading to somebody, that's what I'm always going to point them towards is like, are these healthy problems or not?
A retweet, like I co-sign that. I 100% think fighting makes you closer to someone. It builds intimacy. And I think to love someone is to hate them sometimes. But those things that you hate are actually the things you love about them.
Fuck yeah.
No, totally. I want to give you the chance to plug in your podcast. So where can they find you?
So I don't offer readings outside of my podcast or my Patreon anymore. I only put it on I give readings to folks on one tier of my Patreon and then on my podcast. So you can find Ghost of a Podcast. It's out twice a week. Once on Sundays, I drop an episode, which is a horoscope talking about the week ahead. And then on Wednesdays, I give a reading to a listener, which is a full, hour-long, in-depth reading based on the whole birth chart instead of just the halfie that I did for you, which was a much more light reading than I would typically do. And then on my Patreon, I've got a bunch of tiers with a lot of information. We talk about all kinds of psychic stuff, animal communication stuff, tarot, astrology, all of it. So if you want to learn more with me, you can learn on Patreon. I also have astrology classes available for purchase on my website. So there's lots of ways to learn with me. And I guess I also have a book called Astrology for Real Relationships. How could I forget to say that? And a weekly horoscope you can read on my website. So I'm all over the damn place.
Phenomenal. You are a badass. I'm obsessed.
Thanks. So are you, girl. This was such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Jessica, thank you so much for being here. This was such a fascinating conversation. I feel like I came in with a million questions, but somehow I'm leaving with even more. But yeah, to everyone listening, I am curious, where do you stand on all the things that we talked about today? Is it something you live by? Is it just a little bit of fun? Or are you still completely skeptical? I would love to hear your thoughts. Follow us on Instagram, leave a comment on wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode and you think someone else will enjoy it, definitely share it with them. And thank you so much for listening. And as always, I will see you next week on More Lovely. Lovely is an Emma Grantley media production. This episode was produced by Sadia Khan and Shay Yu, written by me. Theme music, sound design, and editing by Lou Raskin. Other music by Epidemic Sound. And see you next week for More Lovely.